Live in about 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Alright, and we are live. We have 2 concurrent viewers. So, hi. Apologies that it's not started like fucking 30 seconds ago when I posted this, but we are live now. This is the State Smash podcast. I am live with Tre Vietnam. I'm gonna introduce a few of the sponsors, and after that, I will let him introduce himself. The sponsors for this are all like Brave, fucking the Patreon people, Coinbase, a ton of sponsors in the description. So feel free to check any of those out, and any of those that you check out are supporting the show at any given time. So feel free. I am with Tre Vietnam. He is an open carry activist in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. So why don't you introduce yourself, let the people know what you do, who you are, and what you're about.
All right, my name is Tre Vietnam. Of course, my last name is Vietnam. There's a funny way I came up with that name. I'll tell you about that later. But I live in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. We got an open carry here. And I like to indulge in that, man, for multiple reasons that we'll get into later. I do consider myself a full-blown activist, man. A lot of people thought that, I was just a loudmouth on Facebook talking about government this and government that. So I definitely had to hit the streets, and I hit the streets running, man. Open carry with the AR every week, getting the knowledge out there, talking to people, checking the social temperature out here, and I think more people need to be doing this, man. So I'm gonna be the one to do it, even if it's by myself out here, whatever.
All right, so I guess that's where I start. What was your initial impetus, I guess, to start doing this?
Well, what really bugged me is that a lot of people being shot unarmed by police officers, white, black, whatever. Some of them weren't being shot, but they were definitely being manhandled by law enforcement, man. And it just bugged me because I felt like that could be my child, that could be my kid, that could be, somebody I know and love, and it shouldn't even take that, But it took that for me to say, wait a minute, what would I do? How would I feel? So, like any responsible father with an ounce of bravery, when you face something that you know is extremely violent and extremely elusive when it comes to the rules and stuff, man, you face the bully for the sake of your kids. So I told myself that if there's any fight out there to be had, I'm going to dare a police officer to fuck with me, and I will be openly, obviously armed. Don't touch me. So I was like, I got to get out there, man, so that this is smooth and clear by the time my kids are old enough to carry and choose for themselves how they feel about law enforcement. So I was like, yo, let the fight start with me. I'm going to get out here. So I open carry all the time, and man, if I can open carry and not be bothered, man, I'm not quite sure how a cop is going to get away with shooting an unarmed person in my community around here. It's not going to happen. They're going to look foolish. It's going to be like, why did you do that? Trey just had 2 pistols and an AR on him. Nobody touched them. Are you telling us that the answer is be armed and the cops will be nice to you? Because if that's the case, yeah, people should gun up. But I'm going to expose it all. I just hope to expose the police departments around here for either being just like the national narrative on this, in the news and the mainstream media, or we're going to prove the mainstream media to have tunnel vision to paint police, black people, armed people, revolutionaries, and everyone else in a certain light. So we're going to expose that. It's going to be one or the other.
All right, so basically, see, because a lot of people right now are concerned about balkanization, and they're concerned about like people being essentially crystallized against one another. So just to be clear, doing this from the perspective of the state versus the people, not the people on the ground versus each other. And I
Yes.
I remember you bringing this up in your streams, and also bringing this up just before while I was figuring out the technical bullshit on this, where you talk about the average person not being what the media portrays, and being much more open to what you're doing than the media gives them credit for. So you're not trying to do this to incite a civil war. You're inciting, like, essentially thought, and you're trying to get people to realize where the lines that they have drawn are. Is that correct? And if so, can you
Oh yeah.
elaborate on that?
Oh yeah, because I do when I do the AR open carries, very often the same people that you could imagine. If you let the news tell you the story, especially in the middle of Iowa, especially in Cedar Rapids, when there's so much, when there's such a large number of people basically migrating from Chicago here. Some of those people are looking for a better life. Some of those people are running from gang violence and the police in Chicago, and they come here to seek refuge. When you see all of that happening here and how that disturbs the natural flow of Iowa, you would expect that some of these people that come up to me to hug me while I'm armed with the AR would be the same people in the news that the news would try to convince you are good homegrown Iowan people, and here comes this black guy from Illinois, and you two are not going to mix. So when this white girl walks up to me, she's 20 years old, and she hugs me and squeezes me tight, and then I ask her if she's scared, how she feels about guns, gun laws, and all this other stuff. We converse, and she's smiling ear to ear. She has absolutely no problem talking to me or coming up to me. And when I see that, I'm thinking, how often is that going to be the reaction that I get from people? And how often am I going to see the reaction from a distance at the very least, or get the police called or something, that somebody sees me and they judge me, number one, off the fact that I'm armed, number two, off the fact that I'm black, number three, that I'm in the middle of Iowa and we got this Chicago nigga problem, and here I am with this big ass gun. How is this ever going to be okay? That's what the media will want you to think. And then I get out here and I do this, man, and I'm telling you, the media wants you to think that people with guns are just kind of scary. Nobody's ever going to be comfortable with it. And people without guns are just going to just not be comfortable with this because they don't understand and they don't care to understand, and none of that shit is true. It's not true that that's what's going on, because I have not been played like a crazy nigga with a gun in the middle of Iowa. Doesn't happen. Not with the cops, fuck the cops, but they don't do that to me. In all honesty, they don't run down on me like I'm a crazy nigga. I still don't fucking like them. I mean, I salute them for not forcing something, because they can easily just force something to shoot me in the streets, and then my kids would be fatherless, and they'll play it off. Oh, well, look at this Facebook. He said fuck the fucking cops. It looked like he was looking for a fight. The nigga's dead. Let him go. Like, they could do that to me. They're not doing that. And,
yeah, like they just got exposed for planting meth on this grandmother. Like, there was a spoon in her car, so they put like a tiny little baggie of meth in her car and pulled it out and said, this is yours, and she's like, that's not mine, and they forgot to turn off their fucking body cameras.
oh, let's talk about the lane. Let's do that. Let's talk about this lane of illusion, man. They say that society cannot govern themselves, right? Like we're all fucking nuts. And then they pull from the same bag of nuts and they say, okay, the pecans and the cashews get to tell the walnuts and the Brazil nuts what the fuck to do. Like we're not all nuts. We're all fucking nuts. They said it. This is what they think. And then they pull from this bag of nuts, man. And it drives me crazy that people can't just see through this. You can't tell people that we can't govern ourselves, and then you create a lane for people to get away with shit. I always say this, man. If somebody wanted to be a drug dealer and get away with it, a rapist and get away with it, a murderer and get away with it, a racist murderer and get away with it, join the fucking police force. You got a high chance of getting away with it, because you're going to have an entire system backing up your bullshit, and I don't understand why people are okay with that. Everybody should see some level of concern, and this is part of the reason why I'm out here, why I do what I do. Excuse the loud car. But this is part of the reason why I do what I do. Is because sometimes people need it spelled out in front of them. And there's another hashtag that I like to use, hashtag did I lie. That when I make a statement, that's a blatant statement that I didn't exaggerate, I didn't make shit up, I didn't leave anything out, I'm just saying it like it is. And when I make those statements and then I ask a motherfucker, did I lie? And they have to say, no, you didn't. They got to take what I said and calculate that into how they move about the world. And the lane of police law enforcement, man, is a death trap. And I don't understand how anybody can't see that. You should be explaining this to anybody and they go, dude, I'm not saying we need to abolish law enforcement. I'm not going to agree with that. But what you're saying is true, and we should be kind of scared of what kind of assholes are going to fall into that lane and abuse it, because that's exactly what's going to happen. They said it's going to happen. That society can't govern itself.
Well, and it's interesting that you should say that, and in the same context there, because James Corbett recently had on Stefan Kinsella to discuss law without the state, and one of the things that he pointed out was that government doesn't create law, they monopolize law enforcement. And what that means is that they can get away with a lot, like whole cloth creation of a lot of things that aren't law and call them law anyway. Like, you know, fucking victimless crimes, for instance. They get away with calling those laws when, you know, it's not a law that says you can't put in your body what you want. It's a law that says you have to be subject to our rules about what you can and can't put in your body. That's not law. That's fucking thug-ass government officials telling you how your body works. That's slavery. That's tyranny. But most people don't recognize it because they think, hey, without government, we're going to be in chaos. So what do you say to those people?
I think those people need dose after dose of did I lie? They need to hear these things laid out clearly, spelled out to them, before, and then after a while they go through a list of things and they go, dude, I'm not quite sure like why I've been okay with this. But I think fear keeps them in check, man, because if it was all about safety, then they wouldn't let this 450-pound guy order, you know, the burger that's going to kill him later that night in a heart attack. They don't go around checking for that.
The state subsidized burger that will give him a heart attack later that night.
Yeah. They probably been selling them the bullshit that ain't gonna fucking stop the heart attack because they selling the pills, and then there's no emphasis on exercise and proper diet. They don't really give a fuck about that part. They give a fuck about selling this dude the pills, man. And it's just a weird thing.
Correction, they give a shit in schools when they can make it seem like they're, you know, involved in your child's fitness, but they only give a shit so that they can train the next generation of unpaid student athletes in colleges. So fuck them too.
Right. It's all for capital gain, man. They capitalize on like what you said, this quote unquote crime. It can't be a crime for me to put something in my body that they disagree with. You know what I'm saying? Like it's absolutely absurd. That's another one of those things. And when you spell it out to people clearly, right into their faces, and you ask them to respond to you directly, if you lied or said something crazy, or you're not just telling it like it is, and most people will say, "Yo, if they can't tell me not to drink, a case of Pepsi a day." They can't tell me to smoke a J after 12 of those fucking Pepsis. They can't tell. Like, at what point do you say, okay, do the Pepsi thing? That's gonna fuck you up. Don't do the J though. Who the fuck is okay with that? I don't understand why people are okay with that, man.
Well, they're okay with it because they've bought propaganda, and they've gotten secondhand propaganda from people who also bought it, but like are either old or dead.
Right, and to me, it's still weird though, because I fell into the same propaganda. I didn't always feel the way I did. I was raised religious. I am very far from religious. I was raised to fear and respect the police, and not feel the way I do. And if I can come from what I come from to feeling the way I do now about things that are the foundation of who a lot of people are. Some people are law enforcement. Some people are the church and the Bible. And I shook all of that shit to tell myself deep in my heart that all of those things are fugazi. It's fuck. They're wrong. Something's wrong. I ain't going. And if I can change my mind, I always feel like, regardless of what propaganda and programming somebody has, there's still a common sense core in the minds of these people who are probably intelligent in other things. How this gets by them, I don't know, but I'm gonna fucking figure it out because I'm gonna be out here talking that shit with the AR on me, asking questions and pointing fingers and all of that. Because it's crazy, and people got to stop being crazy because I'm about tired of the crazy shit.
Okay,
People gotta wake up.
So on that level, I think part of the problem is that they start out in these highly indoctrinated environments known as schools. These schools get their programming model from handed down from dictatorship after dictatorship. Like it's handed down from the Prussian school model, which was designed to get people to obey government orders, you know. Like, this whole thing is designed to get people's minds warped, and then they grow up thinking, because of these schools, the only sources you can accept are official sources. The only people you can look up to are the people at the top, and they get all these people churned out who don't support anything unless the powers that be support it as well. And as a result, we get all these citizenry that think unless an official source said something, unless it's sanctioned by a central authority of one sort or another, we can't accept it. And on some level, they know that's bullshit, because it's sort of like this, like, you're atheist to every god but your own. You're anarchist to all other governments but your own. It's like that sort of bullshit only applied to their specific central authorities. So they know that the other central authorities aren't theirs. They know that they don't support all government, just the one that they think is on their side. And I think that part of breaking the illusion is getting people realizing that they're not on their side. So on that score, I see you when you're in your streams a lot of the time, getting people to recognize and see past this veil. So could you elucidate how you talk to people to get them to understand these things on a much more common person's level? Because I think a lot of times people get too airy and too high and mighty, and they try and talk like, you know, they're better than the person because they know certain things. How do you red pill the person without seeming like a pill pusher?
What I usually do, this is usually my go-to, is that I point to places like Colorado, California, now Illinois, neighboring state to Iowa. That's where I was born and raised, in Illinois. I point to that, and you know, I just ask people, you know, if they realize like how dangerous it was in those states, like Illinois, for example, a year ago. Illinois a year ago, if a cop smelled weed on you in your car, you couldn't just keep driving. He'd make you stop. If you didn't stop, he would chase you down. Once he chased you down and he cornered you someplace or got you to stop, he's going to be fearful about what you're going to do to resist him. And he's going to be on the edge. He could potentially kill you over the weed smoke. And now that it's legal in Illinois, as soon as they get all of this shit popping, they get their dispensaries and their restaurants and everything else they're going to be doing, and it's legal, you can stop a cop and ask him for fertilizer recommendations. This is crazy. All of that changed. Complete 180 over what somebody wrote on paper. Were the police officers that do these things take children from the home because of the weed smoke and all of this destruction that they do to families, throwing people in jail for victimless crimes and all this other stuff? Were they right when they did it and now they're right to ignore it? Or were they always wrong? Where is the right and the wrong? Because if it's okay now, it must have always been okay. Those are errors that they made in the past. It can't just be swept under the rug. And when I point these things out to people, people go, shit, yeah, I see what you're saying. Damn, that's crazy. I can see the light fucking click in people's head. They go, wow, dude. I was just happy that they legalized weed in Illinois. I didn't think about it like that. What the fuck? And sometimes people freak out to my side of the line, and they go, "Yeah, man, I feel you, man. Fuck, it's crazy."
Yeah, and you know, it's another thing. Like, I bring this up pretty regularly, that people embrace a double standard of ethics when it comes to the people in their central authority. Because if I can't go and bust somebody up for breathing smoke, then how can a cop do it?
Right, right. I definitely do that too. I definitely tell people, that what a group of Crips can't do for the exact same reason that the cops do, then the cops shouldn't be able to do it either. Because ain't no gang of Crips gonna be able to flag somebody down and chase their car down and go, yo, I don't like the way you was driving. We want $180, or we gonna come see you. You give us 180, we'll work on forgetting that it ever happened. Everybody will look at them and go, who the fuck do you think you are? But they don't do that to the cops, and I think it's weird. It's either out of fear or out of hypnosis, probably a little bit of both. And I'm not recommending that people, resist to the death a traffic citation. That's not what I'm saying. But what a lot of people need to do is, number one, recognize it. Number two, say it out loud what it is that you're saying. And then number three, look for ways to circumvent that shit. And if we got to make a movement, then let's make a movement. But what we should not do is to lay down to accept the shit, because there's something even deeper than the police and all of this. Anytime I talk about the police, that's a surface level shit. I'm trying to talk to the people to bring them into the conversation about what's going on. I would much rather be talking about the elite, international child trafficking, pedophilia, all of that crazy shit, the boogaloo, whatever. I would rather be talking about those things. But I got to start by talking to people on ground level, being like, yo, that's a cop right there. We don't got to talk conspiracy about the elite, the Illuminati, whatever any of that is. We don't got to talk about all that stuff. We can wait for that. Step number one. Why are the cops willing to kill you depending on what somebody wrote on paper? They'll kill you today, and then tomorrow they'll ignore your neighbor because somebody signed a piece of paper. But they will kill you today, though.
Right.
It's so extreme that I don't know if anybody can deny this, man, if you put it in their face, man.
Well, plenty of people do, and that's part of the thing I was going to bring up. Like, when I see so many of these police brutality cases go in front of my face every day, because, like, I tweet about it all the time, I post about it a lot, when I see this sort of thing, like, I covered it on the weekly Hellscape, I've got an entire segment of the weekly police bullshit that happened. So, like, so many people have responded to these stories by saying, well, I want to know what happened 15 seconds prior, or something like that. I want to know, I want to know what led to this. They assume, because of their statist indoctrination, they assume that the cops were, like, provoked, and that was, like, what made it okay to shoot. So my objection to this is multifold, but it's primarily the fact that it's almost never assumed that that I'm posting something about a tragic thing because, hey, the cops are, well, I mean, at least by the average person, because, hey, the cops might have been just, doing their job or responding to something. So, like, for instance, the other day, I posted on this dumb cult app that I'm gonna expose the shit out of, like, sometime very soon, called Nimsies. It's trash, and I hope everybody who's on it deletes it, because it's basically personality cult enslavement. But
Okay.
all of this aside, like, I posted the same image I posted another place, and it got the same reaction that I got when I posted it elsewhere, which is an image with a source where people can see that they're 12 times more likely to be killed by a police officer than a mass shooter in 2018. And this image gets a lot of anger, primarily from the right, not the left. Because the left... even though they're against guns, and try to use mass shooters as a way to promote that agenda, they don't touch this with a pole because they're anti-cop too. But the right gets really fucking pissed off at this. They get pissed off that I'm bringing up this fact because, well, 74% in your source fired first. And I'm like, well, what would you do if somebody came up to you threatening you with deadly force if you didn't comply with their orders and they weren't a cop? Would you fire or would you comply? Would you like sacrifice all of your liberty, Or would you do what the founders suggested and use your Second Amendment right? It's the 4th of fucking July, so let's talk about this, to
Right.
fire on them first. And most people have zero response to that. Most people can't respond to that because ultimately they just want people to roll over and accept the social order so that they can use it as a proxy war for control. So how do
Yeah.
you convince the average person to stand up for themselves, to grow that spine, when a lot of them want to use the cops because they don't have one to begin with? They were born defective or some shit.
Right. Now, see, that's what I do a lot when I go into the hood here in Cedar Rapids, and I'm talking to people, because I'm not saying that there's no white guys that don't need to hear this, and they do. They do need to hear it, and I do that. But there's something about the atmosphere, the American atmosphere, that completely draws young black men away from guns. Either they think it's a thug thing or it's a cop thing, but it's not a them thing. Like, it's not for them. And you know, I try to bring that out to be like, no, man, this is up to you, because you have a natural right to be your own first responder. First of all, you got to take your protection into your own hands. When you do that, you're going to realize that what's left for a cop to do for you is extort you. They are going to do almost nothing else but extort you. Once you say, yo, the protection thing, I got it. I got that. Next, what else you got, Mr. Officer? And then they're going to go down a whole list of shit that you don't want them to be doing, is what happens. And that's step one, is putting the protection in your own hands. That's just a natural thing. Step two is realizing that a costume that these guys put on can't make something that they're doing wrong magically right, because it's them that's doing it. Any cop that comes up to my car, instantly I'm thinking, number one, they always ask you, do you know why I pulled you over? My response always is, I bet you it's about money. I bet you want money. I bet you want money. And you got that gun there. There's no way I can actually deny you either. You're going to force me into signing something to promise to give you money. That's what this is going to turn into, and almost nothing else. That's what you're trying to do here, you know. And I think that's violence. That's violence, plain and simple. It's coercion and violence. As soon as they walk up on your car, and I've never been the kind of person that I could even attempt to convince people that, hey, that's an initiation of violence, man. You should stand up for yourself when they come up to your car talking that shit, because then it sounds like I'm saying that it's absolutely okay to pick a fight and die fighting, to shoot an officer because he's at your car mad because you don't have on a seatbelt and now he wants money from you, which is a fucking weird thing. But it's hard for me to convince people of that. I'm not even quite sure if that initial reaction to the police is even worth it, just because it's a losing battle. I mean, you could go to the court. You're not gonna make it to court. You fire at a cop, you're not gonna make it to court. They're gonna do everything they can to kill you. It's gonna be hard for you to make it to court. And if you make it to court, they're never gonna side with you over a dead officer. So I always try and tell people, man, preservation might overcome your sense of justice, and that's okay if you just want to preserve yourself for another day. But anybody who ever feels violated by the police, they need to take that wholeheartedly, and if they need to find some way to fight that fight, then they need to do that. That's what I'm out here doing. I'm really hoping to debate a cop on camera is what I want. I want to debate the legitimacy of law enforcement with a cop on camera. And this is my main objective, man. If I could convince one police officer to quit his job and maybe start like a protection firm or an academy to teach people, the people of the public, to shoot like a police officer, to carry themselves the way an honorable police officer should carry themselves. If I can convince one cop he'll make more money, he'll be more respected by the public, and he will live a longer life with minimal stress if he did this. If I convince one cop to quit his job to do that, I think I won, because I'd rather change the minds of one than to kill one, because if I do that, who's going to raise my kids?
Right. Okay,
dying in the streets trying to fight a cop ain't where I want to die at. If there's going to be like a World War III or like a government revealing, they take the fucking mask off and they show they fucking ugly demon face and they go, you motherfuckers are all under arrest, we finna fight. That's when I want to fight. I want to be around for that crazy shit.
Okay, so multiple questions. First off, what if that never happens? And second off, um, how are what's your mindset on community policing? How many of you would there need to be in your local community for you to begin to take that first step to point your barrels up, um, and fight back against the tyrannical system without them essentially coming to your door? How many people
Right.
would it take for you to be comfortable bringing it to them? And you can not answer that if you don't want to, but
Okay. Well, first of all, if what if that never happens? Um, that's a good question because I kind of feel like it's almost inevitable. I just don't know when. I think all of this is going to come to a head, and not that I would want to provoke violence or a violent revolution, because I honestly don't think that it takes that, and we'll talk about the numbers in a minute. Um, but I would like to provoke a mass awakening of armed people who take their own protection and the protection of their communities upon themselves, and that they say, guns on their hips, guns across their shoulders, don't come here anymore. Stay at the police station. We know the fucking number will call you. That would be dope. I don't think that's impossible. And I think it takes a multitude of the people, man. I think there needs to be like a sense of overwhelming force with big smiles and bigger guns. It needs to be a wave of people um, in large numbers, man. And it can't just be, 40 people with guns here in Cedar Rapids with me saying, yo, we don't need the police on this, 20 square blocks because we got this covered. Like, I don't even think they really gonna go for that. I don't even think that's enough change. I don't think that's enough shock to the system. I think, man, I hate to say it, man, but I think all this shit needs to be thrown out, all of it. I'm not quite sure if I'm not even trying to police my community with another fucking 39, 40 guys and say, yo, man, guys, we made it. This is what we wanted. This is far from what I want. What I want is for all of this shit to be faced eye to eye on a national level in the midst of all of these rumors of war and all of this crazy shit. I think it all needs to be called out screaming, not marching and we shall overcome and all of this shit they did during the 60s and 70s and shit. Man, that was cool, but we tired of that. There needs to be an armed resistance that's totally peaceful and loving, that stands up and says, y'all are going to stop this shit. We're not asking you, we are telling you, you're all fucking fired. Go home, you're fired.
so basically, like the Dem exit or the GOP exit or whatever that is at any given point, whatever hashtag people want to trend, it's bullshit kind of. But you're saying, like, you want a sit exit, you want the citizens to just sort of rescind their support, and your goal is more of a cultural transformation by the threat of the force that you could use instead of and that would be a good lead in to your hashtags that you use, which are RPM and but don't push me, which
Yeah.
seem to be basically the non-aggression principle. Would you mind expanding
Yeah.
on that?
That's exactly what it is. I completely live by the non-aggression principle. I've always been like that even before I knew what it was. It was a movement. I always been like that as a child. That's why this shit resonates with me so much. I've always had a superhero mentality, um, and I've always been willing to fight off the bully that other people are scared of, man. And I think government is the bully that everyone is scared of. So my hashtag RPM is actually the name of an army of two, me and my cousin Devereaux. It's just me and him. We RPM, and it stands for resist political manipulation. It's also meant to look like RPM, like in a car when you revving an engine. You know what I'm saying? Like, so this is us revving our engine, man. This is us like at the starting line, like just tell me when to go type shit. Because I feel like man, we need more people standing up for the good, who understand pure and honest freedom, who are just as willing to gun up, face your adversary, and say, man, don't fucking touch me, because if you want to fight, it's going to be a fight. I didn't come out here to fight, but you look like the aggressor because I'm out here getting hugs. I don't know what the fuck you're doing. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's us, man. RPM, resist political manipulation.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting that those are your two acronyms that you use. I always thought it stood for rounds per minute, but I guess that could be another one.
Yeah, that's another one. You know, we joke about that too. Rounds per minute, resist political manipulation, red pill militia is where I first got it from. I came up with that, and I was just like, yeah, man, that's you know, that's us. We're gonna start here with the you know, with the knowledge, man, and then we're gonna get the guns, man. And then once we get the guns, man, then we get our numbers up. And once we get our numbers up, man, we constantly remain nonviolent and loving, and really just using our sincere sorrow and sympathy for society to be the reason why we're getting out here, because we don't really feel like we're trying to hurt nobody or put anybody in jeopardy. We just want everybody to stand up and be just as vigilant in protection and what's right as the cop is. And when you do that with the knowledge that we have, cops looks like they look like opposition, but we want them to join us. I would love it if 3 cops were like, we quit that fucking job, we ride with y'all. I'm gonna say, yeah, good, thank you, my brother. We never had no problem with you. It's not you personally, it's your job. I don't like fucking McDonald's. That don't mean I wouldn't date a bitch that worked in McDonald's. I'll still smash. That ain't got, you see what I'm saying? Like, it's not the actual cop. It's the entire lane, man. And people shouldn't take that personally when I say, yo, I don't like your job. You know,
yeah,
it's not a personal thing at all.
So that's why I asked about the community policing earlier, because I think militias could do a lot better job at policing than the common cop can, because they're constrained only by their ethics and their philosophy, not by some sort of legal precedent or, you know, the desire for the double standard. And so, like, for instance, Detroit has an organization called Threat Managers, and they practice de-escalation. I don't think have ever killed anybody. And they have supplanted the police in the local area, because the police can take days to get there and only to clean up what hasn't dried on. So, like, ultimately,
I love that.
Right. So ultimately, what I was asking is, what would it take for people like you to form militias in your local community? I mean, you say you're working with your brother. How many people does your local march have so far?
It's actually me and my cousin, and there was like 3 or 4 other guys who wanted to join in, but they dragging their feet. And part of the reason why they dragging their feet is because they don't honestly see eye to eye the way me and my cousin do about tyranny, man, and what it really is that we're out here doing. So we kind of scared them off, and I'm okay with that. But right now it's just me and my cousin, man, and I really wish that there was more people, because in order to reach the ultimate goal, what I see in my mind, we would have to start small. We would have to, you know, kind of police our own communities and then move forward with it. But man, in all honesty, me and my cousin, as of lately, man, we just been accepting the fact that we just gonna be an army of 2, man, because a lot of people are pussies, or they feel like, yeah, we about gun rights, but we love the cops though, or cops ain't that bad, or not all cops are bad cops. We hear this shit, then we cut ties with them dudes. We don't fuck with them dudes. We don't even ride with them. So, man, I mean, it's kind of discouraging too, because, you know, then you wonder, you know, how far we can actually make change. But I mean, we're not gonna stop because of that. But it's kind of discouraging that a lot of guys who are all gung ho about gun rights and stuff back down when I say, man, fuck the police. What you need them for? If you gun up by yourself, then you realize the cops are there to extort you and almost nothing else. What they do after the fact is always reactionary anyway. We need private protection firms, man, to handle this stuff, and that's the real truth, really.
Well, private protection, community protection, militias, any of that sort of thing to me seems far superior to cops with a monetary agenda and no ethical background. Because like, if you're a militia, if you're one of these private organizations, you have to be legally accountable for your actions. If you're a cop, you've got qualified immunity. You've got standard of SCOTUS saying that you're not there to protect people. You're there to enforce the laws. So people formed organizations which started out in your kind of lane. If you want to use the lane terminology, in your lane, I think that they'd be a lot safer. And I think that their organizations would be a lot more effective because it wouldn't seem like some sort of fucking authoritarian coming down from the ivory tower to fuck with people. It'd be just your guy down the street, not the guy who's the man.
Yeah, I mean that's exactly what would happen. There'd be competition, friendly competition. As soon as different firms or whatever are known to be corrupt or be abusive, you don't get then poof, they don't get business. The community would drive them out of business. They just wouldn't survive. And like you said too about accountability, when one of these guys go rogue, you might be up against one guy out of a 40 guy crew, and he's a man. You don't see him as some kind of magical authority. So if you got a bust shot to this dude because he's crossing lines and being abusive, or you have to take him to court, some other kind of court or something, then you're up against a guy that works for a fucking company. You're not up against a system where you're trying to file charges and get some prosecution on a cop who's known to judge for 15 fucking years. Their kids might be dating. They send anniversary cards to each other for their fucking weddings. Like, how the fuck are you supposed to win that? You can't win that. They take an oath, the same fucking oath, and then a lot of people don't know that their oath relinquishes their citizenship. They take an oath to the bar. The bar ain't a fucking American thing, man. It's not an American thing. It's a U.S. thing. It's a corporate thing that involves international entities, and it's weird as fuck that people don't know this, and it's kind of scary, and it's a fucking mess. Private protection firms is the only way out of this. That's the ultimate goal. It's the only way out.
Well, and I do want to emphasize that, like, private or just non-public, because there are many there are many people who follow me who are of an anti-capitalist persuasion, and a lot of them are members of organizations that are militias that wouldn't consider themselves private, but certainly not government. So I do want to make that distinction. But
that's true. That's true.
But you know, it's interesting that you mentioned that sort of like interconnected network. There's a video, I don't know if you've ever tried to do this, of a guy, well, actually a long series of videos, of a guy trying to file a police complaint. And he would just go from department to department asking to file a complaint. It wouldn't even be like, you know, I'm going to sue you. It wouldn't be something like that. It would be, I'm trying to file a complaint. And he wanted to see how complex the process was. And he would just constantly get turned out of the room. Same with many of these people who try to go for police accountability things. There's this guy named James Baker. I don't know if you're familiar with him, but he does First Amendment audits where he'll record the cops. But he also did Second Amendment audits where he would walk around with his guns like you do. And he would regularly get harassed by the cops in his town. And eventually he walked into, which this wasn't illegal, by the way, he walked into a police station with his friend, armed and with plate carriers on and cameras, and they didn't break a single law, but they were still arrested and I think jailed for months, years, something like that. He was away for a while, and all because he did something that wasn't illegal at all. So I'm wondering, like, how far are you willing to take this? Like, are you willing to take this to that, like, extent of potentially being arrested for bullshit that they actually can't pin to you? Long ass trials, all that shit. How far are you willing to go?
Oh yeah. As a matter of fact, I'm willing. I'd have to say indirectly, not necessarily calling out this kind of action, But part of the reason why I decided to even get the plate carrier uh, and put some plates in it was not because I'm thinking, oh, I'm going to wear this when I'm out carrying because I need to not be. I only put that thing on for my open carry demonstrations because, number one, I'm not expecting it, but it would be more likely that it would come from a cop than a random guy on the street that I could be that armed and somebody would fire on me. So I put the vest on and be like, I want to survive this shit if it happens so I can sue y'all ass, so we can talk about this shit in court. But I mean, in the era that we live in now, which is hardly different for Black people, given the social climate and history of America, is hardly different, but it's still the situation at hand that white guys too, because that's an agenda with the division. We can talk about that. But when Black guys like Philando Castile, for example, has a carry permit and he gets shot after doing what the cop told him, when he says, you got some identification, get your identification, and then he reaches and he gets shot, and he had the permit for the gun that he had in the car. See what I'm saying?
After or John Crawford, who got shot in a Walmart for carrying a BB gun that they sold in the Walmart from the pet food section back to the gun section. He was walking out of the pet food section or whatever, and people called the cops and they immediately came in and shot him.
Yeah, and see, that's that crazy shit that makes me do what I do. And when I'm doing that with these things on my heart and on my mind, I'm kind of willing to be shot. I'm not so lost in my own head that I don't understand that there's a possibility that some guy is not going to know who I am. He's not going to give a fuck. He's going to be on his own thing. Maybe he just came from a call of some guy running with the fucking gun and he couldn't catch the motherfucker, find him, and then I get the call on me about me being armed, and here comes this cop being like, that's the motherfucker who ran from me an hour ago. Yeah, I couldn't find. And then he comes running, hard fucking pumping because he think I'm the fucking guy, and maybe he can't chill. You know, I face all of that every time I walk out the house with a gun, and I go, if it's gonna get me shot, do it, because I'm not gonna not do it because of the fear of that. So whatever. So yeah, I'm willing to do whatever, man. I'm willing to do whatever, and if something that I do gets me arrested, get the cops to draw down on me or to fire on me, I would hate for any of that to happen, because it'd obviously be a big misunderstanding, because I'm not trying to fucking one-man fight a police force that I can't beat. I can take down half of them. What about the other half? I'm not going to win that battle, and I'm not out here thirsty for something like that.
Well, you need a killdozer.
Yeah, that's what I need, and then we're going to see what's up. That's what I need. Yeah, man, I'm willing to face all that. If I get arrested over some misunderstanding, hey, you have to leave. I know my rights. If I'm legal to be there, a cop can't make me leave off of somebody's feelings that they are unsafe or no shit like that. So at that point, I'll be like, yo, I'm always trying to be cool and peaceful and left alone. If a cop try to make me leave a place that I don't have to leave, I'm be like, I'm not leaving. Fuck you. I show you my back. Get away from me, and I will walk the fuck off. I'm not gonna back down from the shit that they could potentially do so I can save face. I'm going to stand all my fucking legal grounds, and I'm going to start with openly carrying these big ass fucking guns all the fucking time. So it is what it is.
Okay, so my next questions are, general sort of police brutality questions, because a lot of these situations end up with cops shooting somebody, getting away with it, the media brushing it under the rug. What resources would you give people to keep a sharper eye on police brutality and to start getting angry on their own? No matter how many of us start to fall toward this sort of tyranny, how many of us start to die if they start to crack down martial law? How many sources could you tell people to look at for information on the latest in police tyranny, and what would you say that people should do about that if it starts to really ramp up? It's already up significantly. My image was not wrong. You were 12 times more likely to get killed by a police officer than a mass shooter last year.
Yep.
and it's
Yeah.
probably worse this year. Like, it's probably much worse. Like, so what would you say? Like, how can people keep apprised, and what should they do if it starts to ramp up?
I think what people should do, number one, first and foremost, is gun the fuck up. People need to take their own protection into their own hands. Um, and when they do something so natural and so innocent, especially if they are doing these things with pure hearts in the non-aggression principle, every single time they see the cops violate themselves or other people doing the same thing that they're doing, they have to take note to that and take it very seriously, because it can easily be them or someone they love. And then secondly, I think we do need to gather in our communities, like what I'm trying to do, and build some numbers, because if we can do this, then we can easily reach more and more people all over the fucking place to hopefully make like such a big movement, man, that we make this what stereotypically is Texas. Iowa needs to be that, and then the next state needs to be that. We need to get Texas a run for their money for being known as the gun state, the gun busting state. Like, this needs to be gun busting America. Like, America needs to get more like Texas. We need to capture that image, and if we do that, man, I think that would be a good leap towards what it is that we ultimately need to do. But what I would really love to see is the people to make these tight knit communities of gun owners and gun lovers, that we do share numbers. We do call for backup like police do when they pull us over. I get pulled over. I want to be able to hit a group chat or something and talk to 10, 15 guys in the area to be like, I'm being pulled over at this corner right here. You know how cops be acting sometimes with guys with guns, especially when they're in the car, because in the car thing gets like, it gets blurry. It gets kind of cloudy when you're in the car, because they can't tell what you're doing and things are crazy. They don't know if you're going to run, where the gun at, if you're reaching, and all of that shit. Fuck that. It'd be nice for me to be able to call 10 guys that show up within minutes, standing around with their guns, being like, yo, Mr. Officer, you going to treat that man fairly. Okay? We're not threatening you. We are recording you, and we're just telling you, you're going to treat that man with some fucking respect. Is he hurting you? Who he hurt? Show me where the victim at. No victim? Man, you finna have to get the fuck out of here then. You finna have to go. What you doing to him? And I think we need to apply that pressure like that.
Right. So, like, by that standard, there's a quote by Huey Newton, who was, for those people who don't know, he was like a Black Panther Party leader, and
one of the founders.
yeah, and he said that I'm reciting this from memory, I might get it wrong, but any unarmed people are slaves or subject to slavery at any given moment. I post that quote, and it pisses off a lot of people, because the left doesn't like to be associated with guns, and the right doesn't like to be associated with Black Panthers. So it's an interesting interplay there. And there's the Pink Pistols and all these organizations that are coming out saying, you know, armed gays don't get bashed. What do you tell people who, like, say that guns are a straight white guy thing?
You know, I tell them that if my ancestors were armed, we would not have been subject to slavery. That's for damn sure. Ain't no way in hell you can make a man work for free in a hot ass cotton field if he got a 40 on him. You're not gonna be able to make him do that shit. And people feel that when I say that, and it's definitely not about it's not a white guy thing. That's another reason why I'm out here, man, is to let people know that it's not a white guy thing. That it's a human thing. It's a humanity thing. And really, I go even deeper than that, man. Like, honestly, it's really deeper than race. It's deeper than social boxes that they like to put different people in. I think this is like not a spiritual thing, man, but it's like kind of. It's a very deeply natural thing. It's kind of a spiritual thing, and pardon my candor, but I got a superhero mentality that runs deep. I honestly believe that shit like Marvel Universe is way closer to what reality is supposed to be like than what we're doing right now. Right now, all the evil guys are ruling in relative peace, kind of peaceful for them to do what they got to do. to rule this country and to rule the world, and I think that's exactly what they're trying to do. But what I really think is supposed to be happening is that all of the heroes are supposed to be standing up, screaming loud, and calling the evil out. And the evil gonna fight till there ain't no more motherfucking fight. And I think the heroes need to be the same way. I think there's supposed to be an overt, outright, bloody fucking battle to the end of fucking time between good and evil with no sugarcoating. I think that's what's supposed to be happening, honestly.
All right.
I think this idea of a nationwide conflict or a global conflict that fucks everything up, I don't want that to happen, but some in my heart is telling me that if the world is going to be completely fucking dominated by evil, child trafficking, fucking weirdo ass, crazy fucking psycho, violent people, if that's what could potentially happen, we might as well fucking turn the fucking dinner table over. Dinner's over. Dinner is over. We're supposed to be fighting, and I think that's what's supposed to be happening. And in the midst of that kind of frame of mind, I'm almost perfectly fine with the Boogaloo, man. Really?
Yeah, so that's a good segue into my next question. A lot of these things seem to be a lot of these sorts of activism these days seem to be a way to get people to buy into the system while thinking they're opposed to it. The dinner table analogy is kind of apt because it's sort of like they want the people they're enslaving to come sit there and eat with them. They want it to seem like it's peaceful almost. So how do you elucidate to people the violence that underlies the system in a way that doesn't make them lose their appetite but makes them bare their fangs at the enemy?
I usually try to point out the fact that people have legitimate fears about what Russia's going to do to us, what North Korea is going to do to us. Sending the troops over as soon as you realize that even if you support the troops and you support military action, what they are doing is recognizing a sense of violence in the world, a presence of evil that is so bad that they have to send their child off into a foreign country from which they may never come back. Anybody who does that, at the very least, no matter how brainwashed they are recognizing that there's a crazy fight to be had someplace. And when you point these things out, man, and you pointed out to the fact that people in these foreign countries could actually have "Go America, we love the fucking freedom, we wish we were there," and then they get bombed by America because they just happen to be in the wrong fucking country. How does that happen? What kind of insanity do we have to be involved in to watch this complete clusterfuck of violence that's at a level that only a government could bring the world? How can we allow that to bring us to have a legitimate fear of what the fuck North Korea is going to do to us and if our kids are going to live through it? As soon as you point these things out to people, you hit them with the hashtag, did I lie? And a lot of times I can see these things click in people's minds and they go, dude, that's scary. Dude, I get it. Dude, okay. Yeah, wow. Yeah, this is weird. And people do that when I talk to them. And I think it's just a matter of time, man. And I just like planting those seeds because if these people never come across to my side of the line, what they will do in the midst of, I don't know, nuclear fallout, martial law, whatever.
Biological warfare.
Biological warfare. If they attack the food and the water, you can kill millions of people without a gun if you fuck with those things. But these are the things that you pointed out throughout history, how this is happening in other countries, how it's happening now, partially because of what the fuck we're doing to the world. When you point these things out to people who are sensible, loving people, and you express your love and concern for the world to them, because I try to do that. I try to let that part be known. I'm not just a fucking gun busting black guy who don't like the fucking police. I also like to let people know and be sincere when I do it that I love people. I just want everybody to be as safe and as free as I want my kids to be. And if I don't want that for you, you gotta not trust me. Because I can't feel like that about my own fucking kids to say fuck everybody else, and still be trusted. But who does that all the time? Government does. Who the fuck is that bitch? Albright. She told motherfuckers on 60 Minutes or CNN or some stupid fucking show on TV years ago that the shit that they were doing in the Middle East was killing a bunch of kids and she thought it was worth it. I don't know how anybody trust that crazy bitch after that. How? How the fuck you trust that? Because government is going to use that kind of shit to get us into some shit that we didn't vote for or agree with. I think it's crazy. People got to wake up to the shit. I really believe that a few hours around me, motherfuckers will fucking wake up, and at the very least, when it goes down, they're going to stop and say, as they watch the fucking trail of the fucking bomb cross the sky, damn, that nigga was right. Something is wrong. Here it comes. We can't get out of it.
Okay, so I think I could possibly answer this, but it's sort of a difficult thing to say for a lot of people. They don't trust her. They like her because she's a proxy for what they want to do. They want to enact their violence on the planet. They want to fuck some shit up, and they don't really care that they're doing damage. They don't care that what they're doing is toxic to other people's freedom, human life, liberty, etc. What they care about is the fact that they can feel better about themselves. And a lot of the time, they use a person like Madeleine Albright to be the proxy for that. And when she says that it was worth it, when she's callous like that about the loss of life, they root her on because they're callous too. So I'm wondering, you say that, like, people are kind and loving. Would you say that's the majority of people, or would you say that that's the majority of people you've interacted with? Because I have a very cynical view of the world, and I think that part of the reason people endorse this system is because they've been raised and indoctrinated from a very young age to think that it's acceptable as long as it comes from a certain source, and therefore they dump all of their anger at the system, at the environment, society, whatever, at that source, and they consider it ethically acceptable because they've made ethical exceptions. So I'm wondering, okay, yeah.
I think part of it is, yeah, you know what? I kind of feel the way you do. I really do. But what I also believe is that the reason why people just kind of go with the flow, because I think a lot of people aren't just really cynical or passive. I think they are brainwashed and scared. And in the midst of that, they tend to go along with whatever the overwhelming force
The
of
rally
society.
around the flag effect.
Yeah, because I think that if there was an overwhelming movement for peace, love, and what either of our anarcho dreams could possibly be, I think people will happily just fucking go along with that too. These are some go along type motherfuckers out here. I think that's what a lot of people are. So, which is dangerous, because as long as evil is winning, then these people are going to support that evil, and I think that's kind of fucked up. That's kind of weird.
All right, so basically what you're saying is that the same people who manipulate chaos, the Ordo Ab Chao elites, the people in shadowy whatever organizations, those sorts of people could be opposed by creating a new system that doesn't rely on so much chaotic creation, doesn't rely on the Soroses and Rothschilds and Rockefellers of the world to manipulate all this shit. You think that people would go along with the new system as long as we set it up?
Yeah, I think so. But I also believe that
sorry, the audio just cut out on your end for some reason. I can't hear you right now. I don't know what it is.
Hello?
I can hear you now.
Oh, hold on. My fault. How's that?
Yeah, that's fine. So,
okay, hold on. You can hear me now?
Yeah.
Oh shit, hold on. I can't hear you. I don't know what's going on here. Let me see what I did.
Technical difficulties. We'll be right back.
Yeah, we got some technical difficulties.
Well, he's figuring that out. I will say there are plenty of links in the description. If you decide to support the show, feel free to like, subscribe, etc. if you haven't already. And also, feel free to check out his Facebook page. I linked that on the Facebook. That's where you can get access to all of his streams. You up there?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Are
Oh
these
man.
not fireworks now?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's a good day to do
I,
this because it's the 4th of July.
yeah.
But
I don't know why my speaker went off. Now can you hear me?
yeah, yeah.
Okay, I can hear you good now.
But basically, I was gonna ask you if you thought that people would just go with the new system if we created it, if we created the new anarchist paradigm, that they would just go with it. Because essentially, you said that the elites, the Rothschilds, Rockefellers, Soroses, the CFRs and fucking WFEs WEFs of the world, the people that are trying to manipulate the money so that they can control the reins of society. You think that those people would be supplanted by a more peaceful order if we could offer a better solution?
I think so, but like I was saying about the superhero complex that I have, I think good men who want peace are way too fucking peaceful, while all of the bad guys are willing to fucking wild the fuck out, to just go berserk to get what they want. And oh man, I think that's got to go away. I think there's got to be a certain level of confidence and there. I think the heroes need to really get in touch with their inner savage, man, and just say, look, man, I'm ready to get fucking. Yo, I'm ready to fucking go. We gonna get some peace around this bitch, but we gonna start busting shit. Like, I think as a whole, society needs to feel that passionate about all the peace that everybody pretends to want. And if we did that, and whatever system that could possibly replace this violent system we have now, I think the only way to back it up, because we got to learn from what it is that we've been going through. And they like to say that violence is the answer. I kind of think it is, and I think violence is the answer in an anarchist society, so much so that we need to say that any sight of anybody trying to reinstate the old way of doing shit, where people can climb to the top and completely enslave people, anybody who takes a step on that ladder will be blown the fuck off that fucking ladder, because we're not fucking around. And I think there needs to be a certain sense of readiness for that kind of shit, man, by the heroes, man.
All right.
Or else it's not going to work. Or else it will just be replaced with somebody else who can bully the whole fucking shit back into some slavery. We got to be vigilant about what that looks like, and then be ready to get right in the motherfucker's face and be like, yo, if you're doing that, you're going to die right now. You're not finna fucking do that, and we're not fucking playing.
Right.
That's what needs to happen.
Okay. All right. Well, so I think that that pretty much wraps up this. I want to get into some conspiracies with you, but I want to do that at some point when we can focus on that.
Yeah.
So I want to have you back on to do that, because conspiracies, I think, get a bad rap from, well, conspiracy theories get a bad rap from people who aren't prepared to consider reality the way it is. And so, I do want to get you on for that. But for now, where can people find you? Where do you do your marches? Do you have like a group set up where people can coordinate that sort of shit? And also, do you have anybody or anything you want to shout out while you're on?
Well, first of all, I want to shout out my cousin Devereaux. He is my other half in the two-man crew that we got right now, RPM. He's a good dude, and he is really with the shits. Like, he is really with the shits. He ain't fucking around. He loves this shit. He feels like this may be his life's calling to oppose this level of evil. And he wants to mean something to the world in regards to this. So shout out to Devereaux. You can look him up on Facebook if you want, Devereaux J. Allen. But yeah, that's my guy. That's my favorite cousin, man. That's my guy. Something else I want to point out is this Gun DMC shirt. This is a product of what I call street armor. Yours is in the mail, buddy. You finna get it soon. And I came up with Gun DMC just because it rhymes with Run DMC. I was like, fuck, make a T-shirt, so I did it, but I actually gave the DMC a meaning, and it stands for detonate, maneuver, and counter. And I love it. People loving it. It's got my trademark shots in the shirt, holes in the shirt here. Give you a little breathing room out here in this Iowa sun. I'm working on mass producing these, but right now I'm just giving them to special people and trying to get them to rock that shit wherever they represent what it is that they do. But there will be a street armor store coming soon where I'm going to sell this design and many others, and they're all anti-government, pro-gun slogans and designs and shit like that. So be looking out for that, y'all. Y'all can check my Facebook at Tre Vietnam, and I'll keep you posted there on when the store develops.
All right, and do you have like any groups, any telegrams where people can connect with you over this gun stuff?
Not exactly right now. They can just hit me up on Facebook, man. And if y'all in the Iowa area, anywhere in Iowa, because I'm willing to travel so we can make this a movement. So if anybody wants me to show up and do demonstrations with them to kick some knowledge and talk some shit about guns and government tyranny, man, holler at me, man. We can talk about me making some trips, because I'm all about that, man. It's going to make me feel good to take that initiative to travel and to get out to talk to people about this shit, man. So hit me up on Facebook for now. I got a YouTube channel coming. I've been lagging on my YouTube channel because I'm an aspiring filmmaker who's actually working on a crazy work of fiction called Cash is Hell that I'm working on filming a trailer sometime next year for the film, hopefully to get some funding so I can make a full-length feature movie about a guy who realizes that money isn't real money, gold and silver is true currency, and he realized this in the midst of being a bad drug dealer and a thief. And it's a fucking good story, and I'm gonna be able to get out some of my aggressions in this story so they can pop off this boogaloo without me going to jail, because this is a work of art, you know what I'm saying? It's a film. So we're gonna start there. But hit me up on Facebook, man, and I'll keep y'all tuned in to the developments in my YouTube channel, all of the open carries I'm gonna be doing, the t-shirts and all of that, man. Just hit me up on Facebook.
All right. Well, all that sounds good. The link to his Facebook will be in the description. You can check him out, go to his protests, his rallies that he's doing here, and I hope to see you all out there, like wherever you are, with your guns, with your freedoms that you still have before you lose them all, before the elites steal that shit from you forever.
Yeah, gun up, yo. Y'all got a gun up out there. Take your responsibility of your safety into your own hands, and then reevaluate the police. Start there. Start right there.
All right. Well, with that being said,
thanks,
this has been a good stream, I think, and I think it's about time to end it. Be well. Smash the state. Fuck the system.
Fuck the system. Catch you later, bro.